And good afternoon. This is your friendly neighborhood Tironan, and we're doing a review of the P-51D. I'm going to give you a real quick a bit of advice on the upgrades, and if you believe me on anything, believe me on this. When you get this aircraft, it's very tempting to grab whatever the first upgrade you can and just go on and fight the plane. If you do that, and you choose the engine over this, you're going to be miserable. So let me explain why. Uh, Going here gives you the frame, and the advantages to you are more speed, equal to an engine upgrade, more reliability, or not reliability, excuse me, more maneuverability, more speed, and it also opens up the next two upgrades to you, which are not going to happen until you get this done, and it's an expensive upgrade. And that's this and this. And when you do that, let's go to aircraft specifications. You get up to a gun armament of 334. Now, the P-51D is a Tier 7 aircraft, and most of its competitors and its opposition is going to be mounting extremely powerful armament. If you do not have the gun upgrades, you're going to be in a situation of very fast, very high flying, very high performance aircraft with lots of gunpowder, and you're hanging on your prop, uh, trying to take down an aircraft in front of you, and it's going to be a long process, and your chances of survival have gone down a lot. Okay? So I'm just going to say that because I made that mistake. I don't want my viewers to make that same mistake. Get this upgrade first, get this second, get this third. You already have a very fast aircraft. You want to have a well-armed aircraft. And the bad side of this is your effective range of your fire is 1772 feet. So I say 1800 feet, and we'll just take it at that. uh, which is kind of low because most of your opposition is starting to mount 20 millimeter cannon, which means you're giving up 500 feet or more in most cases. In the case of the Japanese, a couple hundred feet, perhaps not so major. Once this is upgraded and you're on target, you will know it very quickly because it acts like a buzzsaw, and you can just watch the health bar on your opposing aircraft just shrink right down. This is a very fast aircraft. Okay, base speed on this is extremely quick, and with all the upgrades, you're up to 736 kilometers per second is what I guess they're doing here. It's also a relatively high altitude aircraft, 7218, so very good. Recommended upgrades on this, I will tell you right now, you're going to want this. Engine tuning is nice, anything, and radiator would probably be my three choices for this aircraft. Um, I have to upgrade all my aircraft, so you constantly have a new plane to look at, always have something new to show you, and so I don't really get to spend a lot of money on aircraft because I don't keep them long enough. I'm constantly upgrading them to the next level. Okay, so historically, the P-51D had a slightly better engine, but it also had, you can see it right there, six um, 50s. And you may wonder, why did the U.S. stick with this 50 caliber so long? And the reason is that its 20 millimeter cannon, autocannon, didn't work very well. They were very prone to misfires, and they didn't really get that problem solved for quite a long time. In fact, until after the war was over. And so they didn't trust them, and most of their frontline fighters had 50s. And against most of their opposition, it was more than enough. Some changes you'll notice from the old A is the bubble canopy. And it was decided that being able to see uh, pilot visibility is far more important than having a smoother ratio to the back. And because of this, it started to suffer some lateral instability. And the answer to it was this fillet right here, also known as a dorsal fin, which restored that to the aircraft. You'll also notice the four-bladed propeller, paddle-bladed, made this an extremely quick aircraft. It is one of the fastest. 425 with everything, actually historically 425 with all the bomb racks and everything else that got hung on it. Very, very quick. It was also energy efficient. What it gets up to, it tends to keep. And you'll see that in the game too as well. When the aircraft climbs, it tends to hold on to its speed much better than a lot of its opponents. It does not turn as well as many of the fighters out there. The AM-7 is going to be more maneuverable. The Spitfires are more maneuverable. But you have speed and you have altitude on most of those. So it's you're still playing the boom and zoom game to some degree, but it makes an excellent interceptor. And a lot of the heavy aircraft that you start seeing are just meat for you, played correctly. So let's take it from there. Let's go ahead and go into battle and see how we do with the aircraft. It has been a rough morning with this. Excuse me, I just need a little bit of coffee there. For one reason or another, we've had some interesting teams. I'll just leave it at that. And hopefully we'll have a little bit more success. I can show the aircraft off to you successfully, and everything will be good. The P-51 was the aircraft that pretty much carried the war for the Allies on the Western Front over Europe until the end of the war. And it even made it out into the Pacific later in the war, and escorting B-29s on their air raids into Japan. Now, one thing I will tell you about, I heard a disturbing comment the other day, and I'm going to comment on it. Somebody called World War II a good war. Then even referred to a historical author and historian who called it the Good War. Gentlefolk, there's no such thing as a good war. Tens of millions of people lost their lives. It may have been a just war. There was good reasons for it to take place, but it was not a good war. There was barbarity on every side of that war. Some more than others. I won't justify any of it. It was just that vicious a war. But if you want to point fingers at any side, I suggest you do some research, and you'll find out that there's plenty of barbarity to go around on all sides. The Geneva Convention was often honored in the breach. And if you have any doubts about that, talk to any of your surviving relatives that were in the, especially for Americans, talk to your elders that have been in that war, and they can tell you just how vicious the American, Australian, British war was against the Japanese on both sides. Wasn't very often that quarter was given or taken, and speaks a lot to just how vicious wars are. So while we enjoy the game and it's something fun to play, please do not call this thing a good war. There's no such thing. I've never heard of one. Upon study have I ever found such an animal, and I doubt it really exists. Okay, we should be ready to go here in just a few minutes, few seconds actually. And we'll get started on this. And we're just going to go where the rest of the team goes, and hopefully they won't spill it up into 3 different areas, but I have little hope of it. By the way, if I wasn't clear in my comments on good wars, I'm not condoning any barbarity by any nation. I'm not excusing any of the behaviors. that took place on any war that do not comply to the Geneva Convention. I think it's very tough to say that there's any such thing as a good war, and there won't be now. But nonetheless, there we are. Now you notice how quickly I went through that JM4's health pool, and it's a heavy fighter, folks. It's a very tough aircraft. AM2, you hit him and he goes away. You'll notice we're still middle maneuvering, high altitude, and we are still running right around 260, and most of it was held at over 300. Obviously, they do some things with this game to keep the game in bounds, vertically as well as on the horizontal plane. Does not. This aircraft was fairly comfortable at 30,000 feet. We start running out right around 7,000 feet in performance and altitude. Something to be aware of. We're coming into all the bad guys here, and if you see an aircraft of any sort around at this level, it's serious bad news. There's no more chump fighters out there. You know, he just took a significant chunk of my health, and I grabbed a big heaping help full of his as well. And that's just to say that things have gotten a little tougher than they used to be. The KI-84 is a very maneuverable aircraft, and I have no doubt that it is probably more maneuverable than I am. I broke off from that to save a fellow pilot. Well, I hope I survive doing that. I'm going to use a little boost here, see if we can get back into shooting range of Jerome here, because he is a very good and very aggressive pilot. And sometimes you almost feel like apologizing to him for shooting him down. Okay, his KI-84 has once again showed up in my sights, and unfortunately, time for him to go. Now you notice that I took about 70 to 80% of his health bar away with one shot, and I am under attack. Things will tend to get away from you very quickly at this level, and I'm hoping that I have some company around, because I am looking outnumbered, and we're going to try to dive. And we're going to try to dive, and we're going to turn here, and we're going to do everything possible to get out of his gun sight. I doubt it's going to work, but we're going to keep trying. And we have some speed going here. This fellow, the Spitfire 2, wasn't going to let go. Good job on his behalf. Spitfire 2, as you saw in my previous video on this, is a vicious aircraft. Spitfire 9. And the 14 is even worse. And we are still contesting, and I'm trying to see where I'm needed the most. And my judgment is we've got one aircraft out here. We need to help as best we can. Trying to find the fellow. There he is. One thing about the Spitfire is it's so quick. You can find yourself flying up to his exhaust pipe before you realize that there's much to be. Uh, Before you realize you might want to be slowing down a little bit here. Okay, wanted to preserve that mining site for us. And we'll try to do what we can here. And it's amazing when people get this focused on it. They've got no less than 3 fighters on their tails, and they're all allowing themselves to get shot down by uh, opposition fighters. I do not get it. I don't think I'll ever understand it. Let me get shot down so I can shoot down the robo fighters because they're easy targets. And come on, guys! But you see it, and you see it way too often. You have a Gustav up here. I'm not sure what the other aircraft is. Another BF-109G. Now we're going to attempt to assist, or at least avenge now, I guess, our uh, fellow pilots. I tend to go after the Taylor because if you go after the lead aircraft, it just sets you up for the guy that's playing wingman to him. And the Gustav, as good a plane as that is, cannot outrun you. There are very few aircraft in this tier that can outrun you. There are some at tier 8. This I-220 is an aircraft I'm just dying to check out. I don't know if that's a testament to how low its hit point pool is or how effective the armament is on a P-51, but it sure didn't last very long. Okay, this Hornet is a fairly serious piece of machinery. I'm doing what I can and playing my role here. I can't do much about the ground battle. Unfortunately, um, chasing after bombers when you had various things under attack has a price, and we're paying it now. Um, and if I sound a little strained, it's because I've been looking at it all day long. I mean, I wish I didn't. We've lost game after game because of not realizing how to win or not being willing to follow the rules that you have to do to win. I don't know which is which. But I do know that's unfortunate, and it's what we got. And despite the fact that I did fairly well, we came in on a defeated team. Um, so if I have anything to say about the P-51D, it's everything that the P-51AB was. The second airframe upgrade on the P-51A is the P-51B, which is the production model of the previous tier. Is that what I'm seeing in the game more than anything else is people not understanding what they need to do. Don't break into more than 2 groups. Hang around, protect each other. Um, the bombers are nice, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that they're there, but um, we had 60% of the team chasing after bombers, allowing themselves to be shot down by trailing fighters. Just incredibly hard stuff to watch. Be a little smarter in the game, and it will affect your win ratio quite a bit. I have suffered through this all morning, so if I sound a little frustrated, it's because I am. That doesn't excuse it, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be taking it out on you guys. But It, I'll just leave it at that. People need to play a little smarter, and everybody will be a little happier. Unfortunately, I've been on the back end of that one for a while. All right, so the final thoughts on the P-51D. It's a great high altitude fighter. It's got great armament. It is somewhat short ranged. That's unfortunate, but there's not a perfect aircraft in the game. If you get in a turning contest with the Japanese fighters, the Spitfires, you're not going to win. Okay, just dive out because they can't be as fast as you are. Try to maintain some boost so you can take a dive, twist around a little bit, pick up some airspeed, use your boost to get on through, and come on back. Okay, there's lots of targets up high. There's a great opportunity for you to make maximum use of your fighter there, and you'll have some success. You can't do much about your teams lately, but we all have to deal with that, right? Other than that, it's a great fighter. I'm thoroughly enjoying having it. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, I just love the lines on it. And it's very much mirrors reality. There was not a P-51 pilot out there that would tell you that uh, the P-51 would beat a Spitfire in a straight climbing match, or that it would turn with the average Spitfire. Now that could change by various marks and what have you, but in general, you're not going to outturn a Spitfire. You're probably not going to outturn the Ki-84, which is going to be your Japanese main fighter in this, or the A7M. I know that I've been outturned by one and shot down by an A7M a couple times. Uh, so be aware of that. All right, other than that, there's not a whole lot more to say except to thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching this video. Please do click the like button if you do like it, and I can use every subscriber I can get. I'm a new content provider, and subscriptions and views and likes are what we live on. Helps get my name out there a little more and gets me watched a little bit more, and that helps me continue to provide content for you all. So thank you very much and have a good day.